And I'm Jonah's dad. And what are we watching?
Star Trek!
Are you excited?
Star Trek!
Are you excited to be watching Star Trek Prodigy?
Yeah!
Welcome to My Next Generation, the podcast where I'm introducing my 4-year-old son, Jonah, to Star Trek one episode at a time. Well, look, I say one episode at a time, but if you've been listening to this podcast, you know we are watching Star Trek Prodigy, and as the episodes are only about 20 minutes long each, we are actually watching 2 episodes at a time. In this one, we are watching Masquerade and Preludes, and I also discover a fatal yet kind of heartwarming flaw with the concept of watching 2 episodes back to back in each session. You're very loud today, aren't you?
I know!
So, do you remember what happened last time?
Yes.
What happened last time?
They got super so people.
By the Zindi, yeah, the police, didn't they? And what else happened? Do you remember?
And they gone into the field
Mm-hmm.
with all the other Star Trek people.
That's right. Yeah, they did do that.
But they needed help from
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, so they found, yeah, and did Dal, he met the real Janeway, didn't he? Do you remember?
Yes.
It's exciting, isn't it? What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think the real Janeway is going to like Dal?
No.
Because they're chasing them, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so,
I hope you keep the ship. I
yeah?
hope you give up.
Yeah, you hope that they keep the ship and that the Starfleet give up.
Yes.
Do you think they'll give up?
Yes.
Yeah. It's good that they've got the ship, isn't it?
Yes. Because then they can escape out for 10.
Oh, and obviously the bad guy, he's with Janeway, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you remember? But he doesn't remember who he is. Do you think he'll remember who he is?
He's a bad guy. Now he will bring the ship.
I hope not. Should we find out what happens in this week's episodes?
Yes.
Are we ready?
Because then he will be able to get the ship back.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. We don't want him to get the ship back, do we? Ready? Are we ready? Let's go. Watching Masquerade and Preludes back to back was kind of perfect considering the content of both of these episodes. In Masquerade, the protostar has obviously felt the effects of being shot at by the Dauntless and is limping through the neutral zone where they need to stop at a starport for repairs. They stop at one which requires a very cool space elevator to get down to the surface, where they meet a Dr. Jago who takes Dal's hair and tells him that he's not actually any one species. He's a human augmented from 26 other species. With a little Easter egg for fans. Again, a great show for having all these little Easter eggs in. Now, she offers to give him an implant which can unlock his dormant abilities, which he takes. And we find out when the Romulans, who have entered the neutral zone as well to steal the protostar, go to kidnap, well, not him initially. They want to kidnap Okona. They assume he's the captain, but then they find out that he is. And he activates it to defeat them. Now, they actually manage to subdue the Romulans and they do get back to the ship, but Dal loses control of powers. Murf actually steps in and helps, and it leads to a great moment for Jonah. And in the end, they manage to get rid of the attackers. Even though Janeway has ordered the ship to be destroyed from a distance, she manages to abort the torpedoes that she's launched at the last minute. Dal's implant obviously gets removed and returns back to normal. And then we have a massive reveal at the end of the episode where Ensign Essentia reveals that she is the Vindicator, a member of his species who was also sent back in time to try and destroy Starfleet to find the protostar. So, as I said, this was a great episode to watch back to back with Preludes, which we'll go into in a minute, because in this one, we finally get a backstory on Dal. Dal's been a bit of a mystery through this season. You know, who is he? What is his origin? Definitely playing that sort of like, I don't know who I am. Obviously, we met earlier on the Ferengi who brought him up, and now we find out that actually he was a creation, and he was a Soong. creation. Geneticist Arik, I think it was, I can't remember exactly, but is Arik Soong was mentioned, and he's basically not a Soong android, he's a Soong genetic experiment, which obviously plays a little bit of havoc on Dal, and that it will play on that later on, especially because if you think about, again, flashing back to the very beginning of the show, the third episode in, on the terror planet terra firma, he had a vision of his parents and he never really saw them, and that begs the question, when he was augmented and created, was a vision of his parents implanted in him. It's kind of similar, actually, if I think about it, to the characters from Picard, the Soong androids from Picard. Obviously she had her memories implanted into her, but she never could actually really reveal them. She could never see them because they weren't real. Maybe that's the same for Dal as well. The unlocking of his of his abilities was a lot of fun. Obviously, he uses it to great effect to defeat the Romulans who come to kidnap. This is a lovely moment as well, because the episode sets up that Dal's kind of like getting jealous at Okona. Okona's proving to be very useful on the protostar. He's very helpful. People like him, but Dal's like getting jealous about this. But this is the outrageous Okona. If you've watched TNG, we know what he's really like, and he shows his true colors when the Romulans come in. So he thinks the Romulans assume that he's the captain because he's the older one. He looks like a captain, and as soon as Dal sort of plays his hand and they reveal that he's the captain, Okona deserts them. He runs off because he is a coward. He only looks after himself, and brilliantly. Everyone sort of it pulls the wool off everyone's eyes, and they actually see Okona for who he is. It's kind of a comeuppance for Dal, but in the meantime, Dal is unknown to the rest of the crew. He's had this implant inserted into him, and he presses it, and he's able to unlock these abilities. The first one sort of becoming sort of like a Klingon warrior, so he easily defeats the Romulans. But of course, as I say, it goes wrong, and suddenly he starts looking like a Tellarite. He starts looking like a combination of an Andorian as well. They all sort of come in. He's able to read people's minds. All of these things happen, but he can't control it, and he's obviously full of regret for doing it. But I mean, you kind of understand that he would do that, wouldn't he? Like, he doesn't know who he is, and now he's been told that he's not essentially a real boy. So why wouldn't he do it? I kind of like that as well as a message to Jonah as well, because when you're growing up, it's hard to know who you are, and you sort of trying to find out who you are and search for a meaning and so on and so forth, and it means that sometimes you can make mistakes, you can sort of fall into the wrong crowd, make the wrong decisions, but actually at the end of this all, the crew are like, no, we like you who you are. Okona was Okona. Gwyn has a line, you don't try to be as good as Okona, you're better. You didn't abandon us. You are much better than Okona ever is. And it's the truth that sometimes we don't actually see who we actually are or how other people see us. And it's these moments where we can. So sometimes we can do things that are regretful. And in Dal's case, it's the getting the implant. So it is kind of a nice message. It's like, actually, it's okay to make mistakes. We don't know who we are. We don't know always who we are. But the people who are closest to us, the friends that we have, they're the ones who see who we really are. And, hopefully as he grows up, he'll lean on those friends to be like, this is who I really am. So, no, I actually really liked that as a message. I thought it was quite well done, quite nicely done. Now, the other part, there's quite a lot going on in this episode, which I enjoyed. I mean, obviously, the main focus was really on Dal and his origin story. Other things that were happening in here as well is obviously we had the Romulans coming in to try and steal the protostar because it is an experimental vessel with this proto-warp. And part of it, I think the Romulans were used for a few things, but one of the things was to sort of reveal Murf. Now, at the end of the last episode, we saw that Murf grew legs. Murf had legs now. He's no longer sort of a slug. He's now sort of a little humanoid. What does that mean? And we kind of find it in here. Like, obviously, Dal's... so they're on this space elevator. Let me go back to that. So they're on the space elevator. They're in the middle elevator. They're surrounded by Romulans who are shooting at them, trying to get them. And there's not much that they can do. Obviously, Gwyn's trying to repel stuff with her fancy bracelet. And they're just trying to keep cover. And in the end, Dal sort of reads Murf's mind and realizes that Murf can help. Murf can do something. And what's been really funny, really cute, is in this episode, Murf has essentially been in a hamster ball for the entire episode. And Dal is like, release him! And Rock Talk, who's been carrying Murf, opens up the hamster ball, and out jumps Murf. And Jonah absolutely loved this moment. What's happened? What's happened?
How did Murf do that?
This is crazy, isn't he? He's become like a fighter. So yeah, essentially Murf kicks butt and he defeats all the Romulans. He still has his sort of shape-shifting, so to speak, ability. He becomes like a shield for them as well as they go through the atmosphere. But yeah, he's able to sort of go out and fight the Romulans, defeat them, and as is quipped, I think we found our new security officer, which is a big relief for Rock Talk, obviously, because there was the assumption that because she was huge and made of rock that she would be the security officer, but no, she's a scientist, which is the reason that she went down to the spaceport and got excited by everything. And it was a lot of fun to see Murf in this. Now, the other side of all of this as well was Janeway is on the edge of the neutral zone, requesting permission to get in there, obviously being denied, but also saying that they will destroy the protostar if the Romulans try to get it. And they are monitoring what's happening, and they see that the Romulans are attempting to try and get the protostar. So she sends a couple of torpedoes on their way to try and destroy this protostar before the Romulans do take control. But when they see that they've managed to managed to get back to the ship and defeat the Romulans, they abort it at the last minute, which is a very cool sequence. But what's really important on the Dauntless, as I say at the end of this, now bear in mind, on the Dauntless right now is the Diviner, who doesn't have memories, kind of like fuzzy memories, and doesn't, is trying to remember who he is and why he's there and everything like that. And while he's been on the Dauntless, the main character we've seen him interact with, aside from Janeway, has actually been Ensign Essentia. And then in a sort of shock moment, she reveals herself, and she's actually got one of these implants that Dal has on the back of her neck. She presses it and reveals that she is of the same species as the Diviner. She is known as the Vindicator, and we go into the sort of backstory later on. But most importantly, she has her own dreadnought on board the ship. What?
What is that?
I don't know. That was quite an ending, wasn't it? Did you see the dreadnought is back?
But how?
I don't know.
Did they fix him?
I don't think they fixed him. I think that's a different one. I think that's her dreadnought. Who's she? I wonder who she is.
Janeway?
I don't think it's Janeway. Obviously, it wasn't Janeway. It's Essentia. But again, he's only 4 years old. So, quite difficult for him to sort of think and articulate about it. And on that note, I started this podcast with Jonah to sort of introduce him to Star Trek. And, when I realized that the Star Trek Prodigy episodes were only 20 minutes, I thought, hey, we'll watch them back to back. That's a great way to do it. And initially what I did was I'd record around a microphone, and then eventually we now use wireless microphones so I can catch stuff while we're watching, and then have a little conversation in between the two episodes. Now that has worked generally. So we'll watch an episode, have a little talk about the episode that we watched, get thumbs up, thumbs down, get favorite bits, and then watch the next episode. And last week, kind of struggled to get the thumbs up, thumbs down. I say struggled. I didn't get a thumbs up, thumbs down out of him at all. He was just like, nope, I just want to watch episodes. This week, It was literally the same again. As soon as we got to the end of the last episode, I managed to get that little bit of conversation that you've just heard out of him. And as you're about to hear, he just did not want to talk anymore about what we had just watched. What he wanted to do was find out what happened next. What did you think of that?
What's reading?
What do you think of that episode?
Turn it on.
So, do you like Star Trek?
Yeah, I want.
So, you don't want to tell me if you like that episode because you want to know what happened next. Is that what's happening here? Okay. Wow. I'm glad that you like Star Trek and you want to know what happens next.
Come on, Ellie.
And look, I wasn't going to make him wait forever to watch the next episode, so of course we did. Now, just a little bit of background here as well. Now, normally when we record these episodes, we're sitting in our living room, watching this on a big screen, sitting on the sofa together. Sometimes Jonah will crawl onto my head while he's watching the crawl behind me, which is why he can sound a little bit muffled because his microphone's then on my back. Sometimes, though, as well, because it is our living room, and Jonah's not my only one. He has a younger brother as well. Sometimes he's in the room. And today he was in that room, and he was particularly loud, and so there are some parts of the recording I haven't been able to use because of the noise over it. But what's been really sweet as well is that as Jonah's watching Star Trek, he's going to his little brother, "Watch Star Trek with me. Look, it's about to start. You'll enjoy this," which has been fun. But what we did with this one for the second episode, just to get a little bit of quiet, we moved into my office, which is also our dining room, by the way. But moved into office and watched it on my computer together. Now, my computer is obviously it's mine, so you customize it. That's what you do. And I have got a background image on there, which Jonah particularly had a few questions about and quite liked, I think.
Oh, look, it's the Star Trek. What's that called?
That's the Enterprise D. That's Daddy's favourite ship from Daddy's favourite Star Trek. And one day, you'll get to watch Daddy's favourite Star Trek.
When?
Someday.
When
soon.
I'm brave enough.
Well, not just that you're brave enough, just when you're a little bit older, okay?
When I die.
And, well, might be a little bit older than 5 since we're going to be moving on to the original series next, and if it's going to be one episode per week, and we'll take breaks for seasons, and we'll see how old he is when we start the next generation. Anyway, back to Prodigy. We did start the next episode, which was Preludes. And in this episode, now that the crew have everything they need to make repairs to the ship, they do that. They make all the repairs. And this is an interesting one because this is an animated show. And essentially, in this animated show, we got a bottle episode. So an episode that took place within the ship, was a very small story. But unlike a bottle episode, because it is, again, obviously an animated show, you can go off to sort of other places and do things. But this was a very small episode, so to speak. We didn't have sort of masses of locations and everything like that. What happened in this episode is that we actually went into the backstory of each of the other characters. So if the last episode, Masquerade, was all about Dao, this episode was about the other crew. Now, obviously, Gwyn they didn't go into because we know a lot about Gwyn already. But what we did go into was Rock, who turned out to be sort of part of a stage play where she played the monster. But when she decided to fight back and defeat the hero, which it was in a lovely moment, actually, where the hero actor was in on it as well, and they played it for comedic effect. Unfortunately, it resulted in Rock being sold, and then that's how she ended up on Tars Lamora. Then there was Zero, who was part of an exploration crew who got captured. We found out how that happened. And then Jankum, Jankum's one, which was the funniest one for Jonah, lots of big laughs from him, was that he was awakened earlier from cryogenic sleep, and he repaired sort of critical damage to the vessel before actually basically leaving the vessel to make sure that everybody else could make it to their destination. So it was kind of like a combination of Passengers without being as creepy as Passengers is as a film. But it was a lovely sort of episode where we got to dive into these characters and find out a little bit about their past. Murf had a chance as well, and of course, it is a kids show, so it was played for a burp joke, which I'm okay with. I'm perfectly okay with. Now, in the meantime, while that's all happening on the Protostar, while they're repairing their ship, on the Dauntless, the Vindicator is trying to help the Diviner remember his past, and we get into a lot of backstory again. So this is the thing. This is a backstory heavy episode. We go into the whole backstory of, well, from the Vindicator and Diviner's point of view, what it was like when Starfleet made first contact with them, how it ripped their planet apart, and how their revenge was basically to go back in time. Where they had the Protostar appears and they put in the living construct, and but Chakotay sends it back in time so that they can't do anything with it, and so they send, because it's a 1 in 100 chance that they would find the ship again, they send 100 vessels back in time to try and find it, and it turns out the Diviner went back further than most, and that's why he's now older than the Vindicator. So, but it all ends that the Diviner remembers it all now, and Janeway has now started to work it out as well, because they've now got the manifest of the Protostar, so they know who's on the Protostar. They realize that it's just kids, that they're running away from something, that they've got in way over their heads, as she says. That, you know, Gwyn sort of seems to be the key, because obviously the Diviner and Gwyn are the same species. And yeah, she ends up sort of getting suspicious and goes down to confront the Diviner, comes in and sees the Vindicator, and the Diviner knocks out Janeway and leaves us on that cliffhanger. Now, feasibly, in this episode, not much happens. This outside of the stuff happening on the Dauntless, which even then doesn't really progress the story. All of this episode is backstory. So we get backstory on Rock, backstory on Jankum, backstory on Zero, and even more backstory on the Diviner, the Vindicator, and what happened on their planet Solum. So this is a real backstory-heavy episode where not a lot happens to drive the story forward. And I don't think it suffers from it. I think it's quite fun. Yeah, it's a bit slow. And if you're really interested in sort of the story being driven forward, it does feel like a little bit of a break being put on it. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. You know, we've spent so much time focused on Dal, focused on Gwyn and their backstories. We know that Zero is able to send people mad, and we know that he was captured for that reason, but we don't know like how he was captured for that reason. And both Rock and Jankum have been a bit of a mystery in terms of where they came from and their backstory. So it was quite nice that we took some time to sort of have a rest in the season, especially as we've only got a few episodes. I think we've got like 4 episodes left. We haven't got that much. We haven't got that long left. So it was quite nice to take that time to explore these characters, these other characters, give them a little bit more of a backstory. Jankum's in particular, Jonah absolutely loved he was laughing all the way through. But also it gave Jankum, like, he willingly gave up going into this deep sleep to go to the final sort of destination that the rest of the Tellarites were going to be with. He gave that up so that they could survive. And then he had got himself captured by sort of the Kazon and ended up on Tars Lamora. So, yeah, Jankum's this grouchy character who ends up, things happen to it. Like, you know, there was a funny moment in the previous episode where he gets zapped out by a Romulan. He's the one who shot himself with a phaser. He's the one that performs percussive maintenance. He is sort of the comic relief of the crew. But that being said, like, this gave him something that little bit more like, hey, I actually willing to give myself up. I'm actually willing to sacrifice for the greater good. So I really, really liked seeing that as well. And I loved seeing Rock's story. Rock has been a great one because, like, Jonah's liked Rock from the very beginning of the show, and I think he still likes her, but her story is wonderful. Again, people judge her on the way that she looks. She's a giant rock monster. You are scary. And she is cast as a scary rock monster. And she ends up having this bond with the actor that she's opposite, who plays the hero. They don't share a language, but what they do is they share a bond. And she's treated well. But when she actually has enough of her situation, when she doesn't fight back per se, but suddenly it turns into a comedy. And rather than getting angry, the hero, the other actor, plays along with it, like almost understands why this is happening, goes with it, and they have a lot of fun together. And I liked, again, really, really liked that. I thought it was really, really well done. And again, I mean, I know Rock's been given a lot of depth because of the left alone in that time thing. So she ends, we now know that she wants to be a scientist and everything. But it shows that it's always been there. It's always gone further back, that she's not what she appears. And again, for having a little child who's growing up, he's coming up for school age, it's nice to know that it's like people will can judge you by how you look, but there are people who will see you who you really are, and how people judge you isn't who you are as well. You could be someone completely different, and you just need that opportunity to explore that, which is obviously what she's got on the Protostar. So all in all, it's a fun episode. I kind of liked it. It slows down the pacing, but at the same time leaves us on that cliffhanger of Admiral Janeway, our real Janeway, being knocked out by the diviner, who seems to have his memories back and is ready to get retribution and get everything that he wants, get the Protostar, and have the plan go along. And as we go into the last 4 episodes of the season, that's where we're left, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. But luckily, Jonah did take, obviously, as I said, in the last week's episode, never got a thumbs up or thumbs down from him. And even in the last episode that we watched in this podcast, we never got a thumbs up or thumbs down. We finally got one for this one. So tell me, Jonah, did that episode get a thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Oh, why did you get a thumbs up?
Okay.
Did you enjoy seeing the story about Jankum?
Yes.
Yeah, it was funny, wasn't it? And I did try to get more out of him at this point, but earlier in this day, we had done quite a lot. He attended one of his friend's birthday parties that morning, which was at a trampoline park. So he was full of cake, full of sugar, and had some balloons that he would rather play with at this point. And that's okay. This is part and parcel of it. Like, I'm just enjoying the fact that I am getting to share this show, share this franchise with him. And this is the thing. Like, how I envisioned this going is not how it is going. I knew it was going to be chaotic. I'm trying to do something with a 4-year-old child whose attention span is limited, whose understanding is limited as well. But ultimately, I wanted to see if I could share this with him, and I wanted to see how we react with him. And I thought the thumbs up, thumbs down thing would be a nice little conversation for us to have after every episode. Last couple of episodes, it's not really happened. I'm still going to persist with it and see if we can actually see what happens, and see if he comes back to it. But the fact that, like, he's impatient to watch the next episode when we're watching them back to back, and that he actually, like, there was a moment last night. So we tend to record this on a Saturday, and then I spend Sunday evening editing it. I actually recorded that. We ended up recording it today on the Sunday because we ran out of time on the Saturday. And as we went to bed, I was doing his bedtime last night. He was like, "Oh, Daddy, we didn't watch Star Trek today. We have to watch it tomorrow." So he's actually looking forward to watching it. He wants to watch it. But if I ever wanted evidence that he's sort of enjoying it, that he's taking it in, was this morning. We were getting ready for his friend's birthday, and Jonah turns around and says, "I have to tell my friend about Star Trek. I have to tell my friend that I watched Star Trek Prodigy and that he should watch it as well." And the moment of parental and pride, but not just parental pride, but Star Trek geek fan pride, in that moment was like, you know, in the Grinch, and they say the line, his heart swelled, like that was it. Except my heart was already massive. Now my heart is even bigger because I couldn't believe in that moment. It was like the night before, he was annoyed that he, not annoyed, but he was upset that he, not, I wouldn't even say upset. These are too strong words, but he was aware that he had missed watching Star Trek and he wanted to watch it. And he wanted us to remember that he wanted to watch it in the morning, today. But not just that, he wanted to tell his friends about Star Trek, that he watches Star Trek and he wants to share it with them. And as I watch him watching these shows as well, like he's not passively watching them. He's laughing. He's getting scared. He's questioning things. He's having conversations through them. And afterwards, sometimes we can have a conversation after an episode and I capture some great things. Sometimes that conversation comes as he's getting ready for bed or in the morning or something like that. And yeah, I should probably be a bit better at hitting that record button to capture them before I do the edit. But sometimes it'll be midweek and suddenly he'll just make a joke about something that Jank and Pog did. Or he'll ask, what do we think about this? Or like what tends to happen as well is he'll walk in on me playing the new Voyager game, or he'll see something with Janeway and he'll be like, that's Janeway, and recognizes her. And it's just lovely. And I'm really enjoying Prodigy. I think the more I watch it, the more I think it is, for a certain age group, the perfect place to start watching Star Trek. Like Prodigy was supposed to do that. Prodigy was supposed to be for a young audience, for children, to give them an entryway into Star Trek. And I think this show does it so well. I saw a thread on Thread, and I never saw any replies or anything to it. I need to look through and see if anyone sort of followed up on it. But this person was like, I'm trying to get my kid into Star Trek, and everyone's like, well, first of all, we need an age to understand. But so many people, including myself, were like, you start with Star Trek Prodigy. Star Trek Prodigy, if they're a young child, is the place to go. It is. It covered, like, so far we've covered so much of what is big in Star Trek transport, like from technology such as the transporters, the phasers, photon torpedoes, in fun ways. We've met species that are famous across Star Trek. We've met Klingons, we've met Ferengi, we've met Romulans, but even like more obscure ones like the Zindi. And then if you are already a Star Trek fan, like the references, the nods to old series, but the respect that this series shows to them as well is phenomenal. It's this show, Prodigy, not only does it stand up on its own, but it is a worthwhile entry into sort of the whole Star Trek franchise. And you know, it annoys me more and more as I watch this show that it got cancelled after 2 seasons. And not only that it got cancelled, that it got booted from Paramount Plus onto Netflix, and that it is not available for streaming. You know, I've purchased these episodes so that we can watch them together, and I have purchased them to make sure that I have them. Like I can't lose them if I lose access to a streaming platform. I'll always have them watch it. And I know this is technically the second time I've watched this through. Not technically, this is the second time I've watched this through, but this is going to be one that definitely episodes like Preludes and others are. All the World's a Stage is another one that I really enjoyed. Asylum's one that I've really enjoyed as well. These are going to be ones that, like I do with Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Original Series, Enterprise, all these other previous shows that I love, there will be odd episodes that I'll just stick on because I know I'm going to enjoy it, and that is great. And, you know, I'm sharing it with my eldest son right now. Cannot wait till my youngest is also old enough to start watching this as well. And that is the end of this episode. I hope that you have enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this week. The second episode, Preludes, was a bit slower, very, very different. Did kind of put the brakes on the story, but I felt like it did it in a respectful way. But overall, I enjoyed recording this podcast. is a labor of love. It has its challenges. Podcasting with a 4-year-old, buying a wireless microphone was probably the best decision I ever made for this. That being said, if you have enjoyed this podcast, whatever platform you are listening on, please go ahead and subscribe to this podcast so that you get alerted every time a new episode drops. I try to do the episodes weekly, so on a Monday, so you should get them. Sometimes, obviously, life gets in the way, but I will try and make sure that they are released weekly as well. If you are listening in on a platform such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can leave a review. That would be fantastic. I am a one-man band for this podcast. There is no one else. I have no editor. I am the one editing this. I have no marketing team. I am the one marketing this. I'm just one person with a microphone and a computer. So any reviews that are left on this podcast really, really help to get more audience. And if you're watching if you're listening to this on YouTube, again, same thing. Please hit the subscribe button, like this podcast, and on all the platforms, there should be a comment as well. Comment below. Let's see. The question for this week's podcast is, if you could have the inherent traits of any Star Trek species, what would they be? Which species would it be, and which trait would it be? Get that into the comments. I look forward to seeing what you put down there. Thank you so much for watching more Star Trek with me.
Okay.
Shall we say goodbye to everybody? And thanks for listening.
Goodbye and sex for best.
See you next time.